Good morning. My name is Bojana Smith. My pronouns are she and her, and on behalf of the governing board, I'm pleased to welcome you to worship at First Parish in Concord on this special morning. Today is Celebration Sunday, a long-standing tradition when we gather in worship to celebrate the tremendous generosity that sustains and grows our ministries of love and justice within and beyond our walls. First Parish in Concord is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and love lies at the center of all we strive to do and all we aspire to be. We gather to deepen spiritually, build community, and make a positive difference in the world. If you are visiting or new to the congregation and need assistance during the service, please chat with your online Zoom host or see one of our ushers at the rear of the sanctuary. The parlor downstairs serves as our wiggle room, where young ones can play, accompanied by their adult caregivers, while the service streams on a large screen. After the service, we invite Zoom participants to remain online for time of conversation and fellowship. All gathered in person are encouraged to stay for coffee hour in the parish hall. In honor of Celebration Sunday, there will be cake. If you prefer a quieter space to reflect on the themes explored during the service, join the worship sharing circle in the Brooks Room. Newcomers are invited to grab a slice of cake and join Reverend Jenna and a member of the welcoming and membership team at 11:30 in the parlor, directly next to the parish hall, for a meet and greet. Welcome once again. To gather in worship is a sacred act, and your presence is a blessing. We are glad and grateful that you are here.
Thank you, Bojana. My name is Jennifer Johnson. My pronouns are she and her, and I am so glad and grateful to get to serve as the lead minister here at First Parish in Concord. I have one additional announcement. There's a couple of mistakes in your order of service, so rest assured, you will not have to listen to a third sermon, essentially. There are two homilies, one from me, one from Reverend Jenna, and that third sermon, you can just cross that off. We also don't have a formal time for all ages. Our young people will enjoy the banner parade and our gospel choir, and then we'll sing them out. So with those notes, let us begin our time of worship, which we do by kindling the flaming chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It's the hearth at the center of our gathered communities and a beacon of love and justice in the wider world. This morning, Meg Packard is here to lead us in our chalice lighting words, which were written collectively by our senior youth leaders. The words are designed to be read responsively. So as I light the chalice, Meg will begin the reading, and then you are invited to respond with the italicized lines on the screen or in your order of service. Let's begin.
Be still for a moment.
Spring will come regardless, so let us pay attention to winter as it soon comes.
Snow on the branches will give way to buds. The silent winter gives way to the lively spring.
Winter is a season to itself, not simply a way to renewal.
Take time to look around.
Pay attention to what is here and now.
Be still for a moment.
As Bojana announced, it's Celebration Sunday, and you know what that means. Cake at coffee hour, and a couple of other things. It's that time when we lift up the tremendous generosity of this community that makes our ministries possible. And it's the centerpiece of the annual pledge campaign season, when we invite our active members and friends to pledge their financial support for the coming church year. If you are new or visiting this morning, please know that we are not making this ask of you. Your gift is your presence. Presence is always the first and most essential gift in this beloved spiritual community. This year, the campaign theme is Stronger Together, and it couldn't be more true. In these times that are testing the strength of our hearts and spirits, First Parish in Concord is meeting the moment. Here we gather not to escape the world, but to engage it with courage. We raise our children to be thoughtful and compassionate. We care for one another across generations. We stand up for justice and embody love in public. We imagine what a more humane future could look like, and we work together to make it real. We are stronger when we show up, stronger when we share our gifts, stronger when we care, teach, sing, reflect, and act together, stronger when we lead with love.
Please rise if you are able as we sing together. Here together. We are here together, and this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. We are here together, and this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. We are here together, and this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. We are here together, and this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hugh Morgan, and I'm excited to share with you a bit about what First Parish means to me. I first ended up here in February of 2020 at age 10, right before the pandemic hit. I'd been attending another UU church, and both my parents and I found the RE program a little small, and we wanted a better experience. Despite only having a few weeks to settle in before COVID, I quickly warmed up to First Parish. Amy, Dawn, and all the adults were so inviting, and I remember really enjoying my early experiences. The pandemic didn't stop me from being involved, however. I regularly attended church services on Zoom and enjoyed getting to participate in the youth choir, getting to sing with kids my age weekly. Another reason I love this congregation is the Crossing Paths program. I was in this for 2 years, and it was one of the most valuable experiences I've had here. I distinctly remember many of the other faiths I visited, such as the Buddhist Zen Center in Providence, where we took part in a guided sitting and walking meditation, becoming immersed in their faith. Another memorable religion was Baha'i, where we attended a gathering in a house in Concord before their New Year's celebration called Nowruz. A core part of the gathering was a big potluck where everyone, including members of First Parish, brought a dish to share. There were also a number of other kids of many different ages, and I remember running around the yard and playing with them, even as it got dark out. That particular experience really stuck with me, as I felt that I was immediately brought in as a member of their group. Finally, I'd like to share a bit about the program I'm currently in, the Coming of Age group. Since we began this fall, I've begun to feel a lot more connected to this community. For the City Reach program, we visited and slept overnight in St. Paul's Cathedral in Boston. During it, We were led by previously unhoused people to see places where homeless people sleep regularly, such as green line tunnels and heat vents outside of buildings on the street. Just last week, we had a winter retreat in the woods where we took some time to do a meditation by the brook behind the church. I've loved all the time that I've had to spend with my peers, helping the homeless find clothes that will keep them warm, making bouillon for the congregation, and the occasional hair fire. This is only possible with your generous support. Thank you for allowing me, and many that have come before me, to have all these wonderful experiences. Thank you.
It's a song from the streets of Minneapolis. How wonderful to have so many of our incredible youth here to lead us in ritual, share a moving and meaningful reflection. Thank you, Hugh. And rouse our spirits in song. We are truly a community of all ages and for all ages. And now it's time for our kids in our religious education programs to come on down and head to your classrooms with your teachers. There are a lot of great programs happening today. Little RE is available for infants, preschoolers, and kindergarteners in the Milldam Nursery School space. Little Owl, our sexuality education program for first and second graders, is already underway in the chapel. We're excited to welcome David Tucker as a meditation teacher in that Crossing Paths program with Kathy Mayer and Kathleen Sullivan. And Anderson, Manuel, and Pat Riley are exploring Bible studies in the Emerson Room, Bible Stories. So come on down and we will sing you out with our traveling song. Now is that time in our weekly worship when we deepen into a spirit of contemplation and we tap the wellspring of compassion that is in our hearts, that we may hold one another in loving care through the joys and suffering of our days, and that we may greet all kindred beings from a place of love and goodwill. This morning, David Ropeek shares the news that he was diagnosed with stage 1 lung cancer. His pulmonologist says it should be safely removable by lobectomy. David writes, "Toby and I are taking the news with acceptance and hope." Kathleen Maloney asks for our thoughts and prayers as she travels to New York for surgery on March 19th. She will be staying with family who will care for her until she's able to return home, at which point she looks forward to rejoining the choir. Let us extend to David and Kathleen the warm embrace of our loving kindness and join in hope for their healing, relief, and recovery. Honoring the limitless capacity of the human heart to hold and to love, let us now give and receive the prayers of the gathered community. I invite you to name the sacred concerns you are carrying today by speaking them aloud where you are or typing them into the chat if you are on Zoom. Let us share a moment of sacred quiet to hold in our hearts all that has been named in word and silence. Beloved friends, so often these days I find myself thinking, wanting to ask you, how is it with your hearts? There is so much happening in the wider world to cry out against, to rage against, to angst about, to fear, to lament, to grieve. These are weighty times, and each one of us is shouldering the heavy emotional burden of our world. sometimes wrestling with the question of how to act in response. Perhaps more often, wrestling with the question of how to manage our daily lives in the fraughtness of the world, how to raise our children and grandchildren with hope, how just to keep our heads above the rising waters of overwhelm, how to engage the world with courage and not merely seek to escape it. These are complicated questions. The answers are not clear or easy, but one answer helps to point us on our way. That answer is together. Together. We can act together. We can give and take hope together. We can lift each other's spirits together. We can face the world with courage together. Alone, we often feel small and stuck. Together, we unleash the tremendous power of our collective love. Great Spirit of life and love, source of being, gracious God, help us to hold fast to one another. Help us to remember always that our strength is in our connection. Help us to believe the words of Rebecca Parker. None of us alone can save the world, but together, that is another possibility waiting. May we make it so.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all I rest in His arms. Holding us. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we
Let's just take a moment to feel that rest and that love, because then we're going to shift gears. Instead of readings this morning, in keeping with the spirit of celebration, Reverend Jenna and I are switching things up, as I said. We've selected a little video entertainment to precede each of our reflections. And first up, we have one called Domino Chain Reaction.
Everybody knows about playing with dominoes, but what you may not know is that a domino can knock over another domino, which is about 1.5 times larger. So what I have here is a chain of dominoes. Each one is 1.5 times larger than the previous one. And the smallest domino is about 5 millimeters high and 1 millimeter thick. And I will carefully place it. And there are 13 dominoes, and the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds, and is more than 1 meter tall. Ready? Boom. That was 13 dominoes. If I had 29 dominoes, the last domino would be as tall as the Empire State Building. Here we go. What's the physics going on here? Well, every time you stand up a domino, you lift it against gravity. And that stores some of gravitational potential energy in the domino. And you only have to put in a little bit of push to get it to that tipping point. And then you get all that energy back again when it falls over. And that's more than enough energy to knock over the next domino, which releases even more energy. So it turns out the amplification in this series of 13 dominoes is about 2 billion. So we put in a little tiny bit of energy at the beginning, and we get 2 billion times as much out at the end. But of course, we put all that energy in by lifting these dominoes and standing them up again. So that's a kind of chain reaction. You trigger it, and more energy comes out, and more energy is released each step. Let's see it in slow-mo.
I'm captivated by this video. The physics is cool, but I was an English major, so I find the metaphor even cooler. In terms of the science, without the visual, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the reality that a domino this small can be responsible for toppling a domino this big. That tiny little domino, if joined in formation with enough new dominoes, can set in motion the chain of events that will topple a domino the size of the Empire State Building. And how many pounds? I can't do that math. But talk about stronger together. So when you are feeling small and stuck in the face of the massive challenges we face, please just think of that teeny tiny little bitty domino. We're not so unlike them, are we? Here you are, lined up neatly, row by row, in these squeaky old pews. Within each one of us, the latent power of gravity, yes, but also of love. That power standing by, waiting to be released, to be unleashed by the tiniest singular gesture of kindness, care, or courage. Think of what happens when we sing together. From the first voice, lifting the first note, we join our voices one upon another until the song grows and swells, softening our hearts, lifting our spirits, dispelling our fear, emboldening our love. The domino metaphor applies at this small community level all the way up to mass movements. I'm reminded of my time in Minneapolis. Imagine a little old clergy person in a small gathering of interfaith colleagues. She's struck by a sense of need, a longing for solidarity, and then the spark of an idea. She speaks the need aloud. Her colleagues listen, and one by one, they act and react. That's how it happened, I'm told. Within a day, the call had been issued to progressive clergy across the country. Within 4 days of that spark of an idea, hundreds of clergy answered the call, and on day 6, over 1,000 descended upon a grateful city took shelter in hotels and homes, were welcomed and fed by legions of volunteers. On the seventh day, we convened in houses of worship across the city who rearranged all their programming to host us. There, we grounded together, learned and trained, supported and encouraged one another. On the eighth day, we took to the streets, joining a growing stream of organizers and activists and ordinary people, bearing witness to the surge of ICE, taking action, pushing back, the energy of liberating love, palpable, electric, within and between us. And that lone clergy person wasn't the only ordinary person setting off chain reactions. Think of the ordinary people, the mothers and the nurses, lawyers and teachers, whose courageous acts of witness mobilized masses into formation to release their collective power. Some of the names we know, like Alex Preddy and Nicole Good. Others are anonymous to most of us, like singular dominoes in formation. No one acted alone. There was no supreme leader running the show, but rather people getting in formation, aligned by a love of life and freedom and one another, honoring our shared belonging and interdependence. And that mass mobilization of ordinary people aligned by love, it worked. It worked to stop the surge of ICE in Minneapolis. Together, that is another possibility waiting, a possibility we can unleash. So here we are back in Concord on Celebration Sunday, gathered with the same love of life and freedom and one another beating in our hearts in these pews, honoring our shared belonging and interdependence, getting information so that we too are ready to take that one ordinary action and set the chain reaction in motion. It is pledge season and it is Celebration Sunday, that time when we ask our active members and friends to pledge a gift of financial support to sustain the spiritual home we love and to empower our ministries of love, spirit, and justice. So I'm going to apply the metaphor again. Maybe some of you have struggled to embrace this annual season. Perhaps some of you have worried that you are not able to give enough, that your gift isn't consequential enough to matter. If you find those thoughts creeping into your mind, please remember that itty-bitty domino. Imagine if the first domino to fall wasn't that itty-bitty one, but one in the middle of the line, all the dominoes behind it would have been left behind, gotten left out. Only when the smallest domino sets off the chain reaction do all the other dominoes get included in the release of loving energy. Our goal this year for our pledge campaign isn't about a dollar amount. It's for every single person not only to participate, but to feel good and empowered by your contribution. Our goal is full participation, 100%. No one gets left behind, because every person matters. Every gift matters. We need all the loving potential embodied in this community. Just like that chain of dominoes, we need the very smallest and the largest contributions and every size in between, because beloved community needs all of us. Just like the dominoes. We are stronger together. Together, that is another possibility, waiting. We can make it happen.
My name is Reverend Jenna Crawford. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the Minister of Congregational Care here at First Parish in Concord. In our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, generosity is a spiritual practice. For the month of March, the plate collection will be joyfully shared with the Beyond Bond and Legal Defense Fund, which is associated with the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network. The bond fund raises money for immigration bonds to free people in ICE prisons in Massachusetts and Rhode Island or elsewhere, but who are coming to live in Massachusetts upon release. Since 2018, this community has raised over $1.5 million to bond out hundreds of people and has helped with legal fees for many others. The Bond Fund grounds their work in the vision of a future where all people can migrate with freedom, safety, and dignity. Together, they say, we will continue to free people from immigration prison, reunite families, and keep our communities together in the face of white supremacist and xenophobic state violence. As you can imagine, the needs that this fund aims to meet are greater than ever, and I hope that you will donate as generously as you can to today's Share the Plate.
It's one of the most mesmerizing and otherworldly spectacles of nature. The gathering of thousands of starlings moving in perfect synchronicity in an aerial ballet. This swirling, swooping, shape-shifting mass of starlings is known as a murmuration. It's called this due to the continuous low humming sounds their wings create when in flight. Though to me, it sounds more like the gusting wind or waves of the ocean. They form these massive flocks most often in the winter at dusk before settling in to roost for the night. Some are resident starlings, and others are short-distance migrants who have joined in from northern latitudes. They don't do this in the summer, as time and resources are spent on the breeding grounds with their mate, defending territory and raising young. Scientists believe that the reason for the murmurations is to avoid predators. Predators such as peregrine falcons are particularly fond of preying upon starlings, so a flock that is moving in unpredictable patterns makes it harder for a bird at the edge of the flock to get picked off. Other reasons murmurations form is to exchange information about good feeding areas and to keep warm at night. Though at this point, I'm assuming this is after they have landed. But you may be wondering, as I did, how do they not bump into each other? How do they all seem to know what direction to move in? This is an area that is still being studied, but some clarity has emerged. One study found that when one starling changes direction or speed, each member of the flock responds instantaneously. This is a phenomenon they call the scale-free correlation, which basically means that the group is more than the sum of its parts, responding as a whole to its environment. This is an effective way of communicating. A starling on one end of the flock can respond to what others are sensing all the way on the other end, which is advantageous when trying to avoid a hungry falcon or hawk. Another study found that the starlings coordinate their movements with their 7 nearest neighbors. A very simplified example of how this works with people is when someone driving 5 or so cars in front of you hits the brakes, then the car behind that person brakes, then the car behind that person brakes, and so on, setting off a wave of brake lights in response to the initial stimulus. But we've only scratched the surface here, and there's still a lot that remains a mystery on how they're able to collectively coordinate their movements so seamlessly.
I'm fascinated by this video. The metaphor is cool, but I was a biological chemistry major, so I find the science the most interesting part. Sometimes I am just completely bowled over by the natural world. I've never myself gotten to witness a murmuration of starlings. Have any of you ever seen one out in the world? Wow. Yeah, I would love to hear about your experience sometime. The natural world has long amazed me and nourished me. The solace I feel sitting on a boat in still water. The grounding I feel when my hiking boots hit trail on that first hike of spring. One of my favorite authors, Adrienne Marie Brown, gave me yet another reason to feel inspired by the natural world in her book, Emergent Strategy, where she details the lessons that community organizers can learn from the way things work in nature. From ants, we can learn that hoarding resources in the end is actually counterproductive to our survival. From earthworms, we learn that everything and anything, once decomposed and reconfigured, can be used to nurture the next cycle of life. And then there's starlings. From starlings, we learn the importance of decentralized leadership. You may have noticed from the video that there wasn't one bird out in front or one bird always in the center of that murmuration. And absent one central leader, all of the starlings had to pay close attention. All of the starlings were charged with responding to stimuli from the birds around them. And in so doing, the wisdom of all of those starlings were controlling where the murmuration moved next, how it avoided obstacles and predators. We can learn something from the decentralized leadership structure of starlings, how when we stop relying on one person or a small cadre of folks to singly save us, whether that be a minister or, in another case, a small group of elected officials, when we see ourselves as responsible for the way the group murmurates together, we tap into the wisdom, capacity, resources, and skills that we had perhaps previously been underutilizing, right? When we look to someone else to fix things, we actually underutilize our own abilities and talents. From starlings, we also learn how to create collective safety. You might remember from the video that moment when the peregrine falcon came onto the scene. And there's a few notable things that we don't see when that happens. We don't see the fastest birds breaking from the murmuration to hightail it out of there to protect themselves. But we also don't see the murmuration staying rigid in its formation, so the birds in the center are protected while the birds on the edge of the flock get picked off. We see the flock double down on its own interdependence and move in unpredictable patterns, making every single bird more safe in the doing. No one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. Or never get there at all. Together or never get there at all. While seeing ourselves in this congregation, or as you use writ large, as dominoes, reminds us that together we can gather momentum, we can increase our impact, and we can unleash our collective power to topple dictators and build beloved community. Seeing ourselves as starlings reminds us that when we come together, we make each other more safe. The refuge of together is where we can tend to each other's and our own needs. When there are more of us in the fight together, it is harder to pick one of us off. A larger murmuration enables us to take more risks for what we believe in. And with respect to community care, remember that starlings don't murmurate in the summer. They murmurate in the winter, when they need each other the most. And in so doing, they help keep each other warm, and they share vital information about the environment around them, so much so that what one bird learns at the outer edge of the murmuration can be helpful to the bird on the complete opposite edge. It's amazing. Dear ones, not only is it true, and has it always been true, that we are stronger together, but this current global moment offers an additional urgency, if not inevitability, to that notion. It just might be true that we get there together or never get there at all. If there was a time to lean into the promise of safety in numbers, that time would be now. If there was ever a time to care for each other extravagantly and generously and without measure, that time would be now. If there was ever a time to summon all the glorious kinetic and potential energy that belongs to each one of us like dominoes to the end of fighting against authoritarianism and building beloved community, that time would be now. Because no one is getting left behind this time. No one is getting left behind. No one is getting left behind this time. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. We get there together or never get there at all. May it be so. May we come together to make it so. Blessed be, and amen.
blessings of this community this morning so powerfully. As always, choir, you do it every time. And today I'm especially feeling keenly the blessing of the powerful ministry of my beloved colleague, Reverend Jenna. So I'm going to pause for a moment to give her a hug. I'm so glad and grateful to be in this ministry together with you. We are stronger together. We are a strong team, and it's such a joy to have you with us and to do this year with you. So there's this other thing we do on Celebration Sunday with our pledge cards, and yes, cake is waiting, but we're going to do this. Some of you may have brought your completed pledge cards from home. Others may not, but you may be feeling inspired by this amazing service to make your pledge right now. In that case, you can find pencils and cards strategically placed by the annual pledge campaign team. In just a moment, we're going to invite you to come forward so you can ceremonially add your pledge card to our collection baskets. And at the same time, you're going to receive, will you grab that basket? You're going to receive one of these colorful acknowledgement slip cards. I forget what we're calling them. They're really, really sweet, and they go with our logo. I'm going to ask Arkady to pull up our slide. They say, how does First Parish make you stronger? And you're asked to kind of complete it with a word or a phrase that answers that question. And then once you've made your pledge, whether it's today or on another day, you're invited to take one of these cards and affix it to a display that looks just like that, that's in the parish hall. Thank you, Tim Whitney. So come up, place your pledge if you're ready to do that today in your basket. Jenna and I will greet you down there and give you one of these really sweet cards. And in that way, we are going to reflect our progress on our goal of full participation and visually show by filling out those columns with people how we are stronger together. Let us now give and receive as love shows us how. forms, those cards will be waiting in the parish hall alongside the display. So whenever you make your pledge and you want to be counted and represented on our display, it's waiting for you. Thank you, everyone. Let us be grateful for the winding road that brought us here and together, and for the love and generosity that keeps us here and together, riding the wild waves of this wild universe with our ship's companions, knowing that we are stronger together, believing that together another world is possible. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home.
Please join me in giving and receiving the traditional benediction of this congregation. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please be seated to enjoy the postlude.